News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
A very good morning to you. You're watching Newsline on TV1 here at News First. I'm Chaturanga Puarachi, filling in for Mr. Faraz Shaukat Ali, of course. And the start of the program today, we must mention that News First wishes quick relief to all those who are affected by the adverse weather that is prevailing in the country for the past few days. We hope that the weather will turn good and the people who are affected will also have some form of relief. Now, this morning on our show, we have a guest who is not a stranger to the show, Mr. Krishmal Varnasuriya. Very good morning to you, attorney at law, joining us. You are familiar on the set on this program more than I am, I should say.
Good morning, Dr.
Good morning to you. In the very outset, let me ask you, I know this is not the area of your expertise, but from a spectator view, why do you think Sri Lanka is affected to this extent when disaster happens, when a natural disaster happens?
A valid point, Chaturanga. May I also start by wishing all of you who are affected out there, about 200,000 I think, Chaturanga.
Yes.
Quick relief, and may I only say that without waiting for governments or anyone else to assist us, we as Sri Lankans this is the time that we need to bring out our Sri Lankanness in us, that is naturally in us, inherently in us, and help each other, and let's try and get along, because in the 21st century, Chaturanga, you are very correct, I cannot hear of any government, not just Sri Lanka, anyone telling us that 200,000 people have been displaced due to 2 days of rain. I mean, this is I cannot comprehend as to how we can even say this. Now, I know even in developed cities like Britain or Washington, when it snows in for about 6-7 days continuously, and snow climbs to a good 6-7 inches, and doors are blocked and officers are blocked, yes, I mean that can. But surely for 2 days of rain, can we have 200,000 people displaced, and in temples and schools? Look at those children. I saw some of those areas where the toilets are overflooding with the water level. Now that water gets into a house. I mean, surely there must be some planning that goes into our city development.
Yes.
Now that is where we need to look at that.
Definitely. And staying on the same point, we saw on our news bulletins yesterday as well the extent of people who are living in lowlands. Now, one argument that was brought forward by the officials is that these people have built illegal houses, or houses in areas that houses should not be built. Is this an excuse? Do you think?
If the houses were illegal, Chaturanga, what were these officials doing waiting for the rain to come down to say it's illegal? Now, this is the question. No, in our country, this has been the incessant problem with governance, whichever color we have been governed. We wait for a problem to happen to be reactive,
yes, and
say this is why it happened, and then go and do an investigation. Remember the days of the bombs? Now today, incidentally, we are celebrating the victory over 30 years of terror on our land.
Yes.
It's a good day to say. You know, remember those days when a bomb went off, they went and actually investigated the size of the crater, what the width was, what the diameter was, how deep it was, and told it to us on news.
Yeah.
But you know, we need to be proactive. Now, if these buildings are illegal, what were they doing till the good rains came down to find that they were illegal? They should have gone and taken some steps to cure that illegality, make it safe so that when the rains come down, it will be safe.
And one more point is that now, whenever a situation like this happens in the country, be it the tsunami when it came in 2004, be it any other landslide maybe, the first people to respond are not institutions that should be responding, but the politicians. They go there and they try to politicize the matter and get a little bit of maybe political mileage on this.
Give a bit of food, dry rations.
Yes.
Very, very pivotal point that you touched on. I'm so glad you said this. We in Sri Lanka, once again, particularly these corrupt politicians who will even go over a dead body to get some 2 miles of political mileage, we are very good at giving fish and continuously feeding fish, but never giving a fishing rod. You see, you give a fishing rod to that man, you don't need to give him fish again, because he's going to take his own fish. Similarly, if we take away the reasons as to why they need that food ration pack or some assistance in this time, the politician loses his moment of glory. The politician loses his moment in sunshine. So now it's up to us, citizens, to empower ourselves and make sure that we are not dependent upon political hierarchy or political institutions. We need to, just like develop cities, society to be built up, citizens to be empowered with our own movements, so that we look after each other, thereby taking away that political's cheap mileage and cheap moment in sunshine.
At this instant, Mr. Vanasuri, I should also mention that we are not in any way trying to discourage people who are actually willing to help and go on. Now, let me move forward with this. A certain minister has said recently that, since we are talking about politics and cheap politics and all that, a certain minister has come forward and said that because of the crisis at the Sri Lankan Airlines, every citizen of the country is owing 23,000 rupees as a result. Now, do you think this is true, first of all? Do you think the crisis is this large, this vast?
Well, once again, good point. Talking point this is, there appears to be a bit of a conflict between the 4.5 billion not that they're talking of and some 1.27 billion. So, yes, there may be a calculation. I haven't done the calculation myself. But the point of the matter is, if any Sri Lankan is owing anything for any reason because of Sri Lankan Airlines, I have a grave question in this. Now, we had a man going in and submitting a report, the infamous or famous Veliamunu report, where they said that they spent some millions of rupees to prepare that report. That has not been given to the people. It has not been given to you, the media. No one knows what's in that report. We only hear bits and pieces of it that are being talked. Now, in that report, we are told that so many persons have been identified as having been directly responsible for wastage of this money. Now we have a cabinet that wants to put up a paper and approve that we absorb all these debts, meaning the citizens absorb all these debts, and then ask a man to come in and take it with a clean slate. So then why ask a man to come in anyway?
Yes.
You see, I mean, if we are going to take over the debt and manage that debt, then we might as well put some of, I'm sure, and I mean, I personally have experience. I've been a Sri Lankan Airlines employee for 10 years. Throughout my university, I was a crew member, traveling the world in my younger days. So I know how during certain tenures, when we had top corporates running the company, we made profit. And I was in that company then. I am a man who had received 2 bonuses in 1 year. You follow? And that means that we had surplus of profits. So, if we are going to take over the debt anyway, I don't see why we should give a clean airline to someone else to make money. Then we might as well do it. But I really don't see why we should be taking over the debt. You need to go after, at least go after these people who we know have violated the law and take action against them.
Why do you think that is not happening?
Well, because there are deals being done, and I make no bones about it. There are deals being struck. Otherwise, I do not know why. When persons have been named, and also Chaturanga, did it take them 1 year? Now this report came out
last,
so many last year. No, now up to now, tell me who had been on that board. Friends and classmates at Royal College and CEOs of brothers of former officers of the UNP. Now, if this is what we shouted on the roads and risked our lives, limb and put our families in peril to bring this government into power, and this I am very sorry to say that we need to get our act together. We didn't need them also to come in and put their cronies, their friends and classmates at their schools in boards of government and go on for nothing now to say, sorry, well, we can't really make profit, so we are going to take over the debt.
Mr. Vanasuri, is this only prevalent in Sri Lankan Airlines, or is this the case
across the board? Across the board, I am very sorry to say, other than the freedom that the country got to express themselves after 8th of January last year, as a result of, remember, only a few people like your station and some of us were brave enough to brave the white vans and get on the road when things were not so rosy, and only a few people got out there to speak to bring this government in. Now everyone has got freedom to speak. Other than that, I'm sorry to say, across the board, this seems to be the prevalent governance. And if this Yahapalya regime were to get their act straight, if they were not to get their act straight, there's a massive danger that those people like us who came with us to change the government then will not do it again.
That is a very interesting point, Mr. Vanasuri. Now, when there was a change required, people came forward and they had their say, and then eventually there was a result. there will be instances like that in the future, if not for, according to what you say, the empowerment of the citizen. How much power does the normal citizen of our country have at the moment to exercise what they feel? Do you think we have that freedom?
Very unfortunately, Chaturanga, that's an area that we are now looking at. Some of those people who I don't want to mention the name yet, because very soon we'll be having a press release and we'll invite you all as well. A few of us who got together to change governance and bring in good governance, bring in the rule of law, have now thought it's good time for us to re-agitate those citizens again. So we are now discussing of various ways of doing it. One way is the Citizens Action Network or Citizens Advice Network, where we are directly asking the citizens to write into us. You'll see the numbers appearing on your screens now, to write into us, connect with us, and so that we can empower the citizen. We understand that the whole problem lies in massive prominence.
We can see the number on the email address.
That's our email address. We also have 2 mobile numbers that you can contact us on. So what we're trying to say is, if you have any issue at all with governance, with the rule of law, with whatever the problem that you have, we have professionals now who are getting together, where maybe medicine or economics or finance, who will help you with your issues, and so that those are our telephone numbers to contact us, so that we build the citizen, empower the citizen to tackle their problems, so that subservient nature, that the reliance on the politician to do everything, or the politician, remember, to bring the fish home and not give us a fishing rod, that thing we take off, and the moment we empower the citizen, we feel that lots of problems will be solved.
Mr. Vanasuriya, is this like the aid, that the legal aid provided by the government, is this similar? When
one angle is legal aid, one angle definitely, because I'm a lawyer, and one angle legal aid, but this is not only for law. I must impress upon you that this is not only for law. With regard to all citizens, for example, if you were going to a building permit and you had everything that you need, but the permit was not being given because someone was asking you for a bribe, or someone was not giving it for no undue reason, talk to us and we will tell you how to get it done, and if they don't do it, then we'll tell you what to do about it also. So that we empower the citizen not to rely too much on institutions, but to empower ourselves as a citizenry, so that we can overcome our issues.
We have to go in for a break in a minute, but before that, let me ask you, we had to, if I don't talk about politics with you, I will not be doing this just, but we saw a certain incident that transpired in the parliament maybe a week or so back. Now you were invited by a major political party in the country to as a nationalist MP. How do you think, if you went to the parliament and if you were seated there and you witnessed this incident transpiring before you, what do you think your reaction would be? What do you think that is the place where you would want to be if that was your instance? So that's what you witnessed.
Valid point. Atrocious behavior, I thought, atrocious behavior, because all the people in the country cannot go and make laws for us. We send 225 people elected for that purpose. We pay them salaries, we afford them Land Cruisers and top high-end vehicles, business class air travel, and all the goods under the sun. We pay for all that to go and make law for us, not to be fighting in the well of parliament. Chaturanga, what happens is, when undesirable persons go there, this is what happens. I don't think even me alone going there can make much of a difference. I'll be only one voice trying to suppress a lot of buffoons who don't even know what the well of parliament is. Now, even in a court of law, we don't cross the well. You see, that is the area that is uncrossable, untouchable. You don't go there. You don't try to run off with the mace. You know. But when undesirables go there, this is what happens. So people need to very carefully think, not just one or two, to send people who will be responsible for speaking on your behalf, not people who will fight on your behalf or kill or knife people or shoot people on your behalf, but people who can talk on your behalf when you want your representation for you.
On that note, Mr. Vanasuriya, let's quickly go on to a break and we will be back. Stay with Newsline. You're watching Newsline with Mr. Krishmar Vanasuriya this morning. Welcome back to Newsline. As the theme for our program says, Mr. Faraz Shaukat Ali is the person seated on this seat usually, but this morning he could not join us. He's suffering from a toothache, I was told. But this morning we have an interesting gentleman joining us, Mr. Krishma Varnasuriya. We've been talking about the disaster situation in the country, politics. Now we are at an interesting point at this juncture. We were talking about the incident that transpired in the parliament a week or so ago, and I asked Mr. Varnasuriya whether it will be suitable for him to be seated in a chamber where an incident like that transpired. Now, Mr. Varnasuriya, following up with the question I asked you, do you now think that fate played a role and didn't take you there for a reason, or do you have another view?
I agree with you. I agree with you on the touchy subject. I'm glad that you brought it up. Lots of journalists don't bring it up because they think I'm glad. On the 18th of August, when we got the 2 seats, and another gentleman and I were number 1 and 2, and all indications throughout them, because we were the ones running the media, we were the ones appearing on lots of like your stations, several other. During 1 week, Chaturanga, I remember I was on all 5 channels every evening, being sent by the party. So we were under expectation that we will represent the party and try and make a difference. That's what we came forward to do as professionals. Well, anyway, when it didn't happen on the 18th, if you remember, I released a press statement. I resigned from several boards that I was on at the time because I didn't want there to be a conflict. But anyway, that didn't happen. But in retrospect now, they say hindsight is 20/20. In retrospect now, I believe that it happened for a reason, because after that, I have been able to raise a moderate voice like this, and people, particularly the Citizens Advice Network, the response we are getting from all over the country, Chaturanga, Matara, Mahanur, I believe, Polonaru, Anuradhapura, people calling us and actually offering to have officers for us, because they have real problems that they associate with me, and they feel that from what they've seen me with me or talked with me, that with a body of persons that I'm involved in, that we can give some help. So now I believe I am at some level where I can speak of people's problems independently, rather than being tagged with a party line if I had gone in there. And perhaps in future, if we can get, I believe if we can get 10-15 people like us, independent, moderate professionals who will actually raise a voice on behalf of the people, we can even think of making a political move which all parties will therefore want to work with us, because we will be only doing things that will favor the people. So I believe what happened may have been for the, and also can I just follow up with what you said on the parliament thing, that's wrong. You see, it's not only the people that are, the people only make the choice from the list that are placed before the people, no. The parties have a responsibility. Now, just like that party who put us on a national list did that time, which I thought was the right move, we got a lot of middle class following us because of that move. Even the parties need to put the right people in their list. Because you see, it's very difficult for us to say people are making a wrong choice, because you are giving a list of wrong people to the people to elect.
Yes.
So if the parties were responsible enough in making lists, not picking their cronies or family to continue family hierarchies, or people with money who can bring in massive funding campaigns, if they put the right people in their list, then the citizen can make the right choice.
Quickly, staying on the same point, Mr. Varnasuriya, the importance of a code of ethics for parliamentarians was spoken about during the election time, for the parliamentary election time, and the declaration of the March 12th was also spoken of, where the criteria to select the politician or the representative. Now, what happened to things like this? Did they just die down? People have forgotten? Why aren't people now talking about things like that, even when an incident like this transpired?
Well, I think that code of ethics was also used for political gain at the time of the election. You follow? This is
a little drama that they...
You see, until they come into power to change the regime, they will give everything from the sun and the moon to the people. And this is where we need the people also to be educated, not to go and promise politics. You see, now code of ethics, if they really wanted, Chaturanga, I believe, at the time we changed government in around January 2015, even I was invited for some of these meetings to draft the 19th Amendment at Temple Trees, and we also took part in this process. Now, if at the time, I mean, I remember one of the clauses that we had the original 19th Amendment draft was a crossover clause.
Yes.
That if you cross over, you lose your seat. Now, these were all proactive moves that we thought we had promised the people at the time, and we wanted to bring in the form of legislation or constitutional amendment. But all of these things over time have now dispersed, and they have gone away, and we have actually nothing other than the freedom that I told you that we promised the people, and that's what embarrasses us. We went out on the streets and told the people we are going to make a change for you. Now where is that change?
Now, Mr. Vanasuri, let me quickly move on to the other side because we are quickly running out of time as well. You are a person who takes a lot of mobile phone calls. I personally call you a lot of times for matters here. People here at News First call you
They
for...
called us last night and said Faraz was going to be here. So we wish Faraz well, and we wish you well with your toothache, Faraz. And we hope that you won't have toothaches like this again in the evening.
We hope he gets well soon too. Now, Mr. Vanasuri is staying on my point. You're a person who gets a lot of phone calls. How much is your phone bill?
I don't want to put figures on it, but it's fairly high.
Now, we had a increase of taxes very recently. The value-added taxes went from a flat 12 to 15%. How does this affect you personally? You?
Yeah, well, Chaturanga, thankfully, because we have a fairly decent practice, and most of these, I mean, everything is budgeted on to a client. So thankfully, our practice and what we get in fees seem to cover most of our expenditure. So personally, yes, I will feel the pinch. I'll feel the pinch, no doubt, because it's not just me, my wife, and whatever phones that we use in office and all that, and what we use for work. So these things, the bills will climb. But can I just get beyond that on the VAT point and say that's not what is important. We understand that governments are run on tax. Now, we have lived and worked in developed countries. We've studied and worked in cities like London, and we pay huge amounts of tax. But for a standard of living, that is worth the tax that we pay. Now, for example, how long, Chaturanga, we are in the 21st century, right? If you go, very few examples, if you go very quickly, if you look at Panadura Colombo stretch in the morning, Battaramulla Colombo stretch, Khatnayaka Jayala Colombo stretch in the morning, 2.5 hours people travel to come to work, back again in the evening. How much does it take to put an underground tube station, at least from these three places, underground tube system, so people don't have to waste 2.5 hours of time every day stuck on the road. So if you pay taxes, you expect a return. Now my problem is, we are being told that this taxation, well, the Honorable Prime Minister came and told us that they are increasing VAT because of the corrupt loans raised by the previous regime.
Yes.
Now, we were told of golden horses and palaces that these will be sold and brought back to the national coffers.
Yeah.
Not that we will have to pay tax to cover that. Then equally, the cabinet spokesman, Dr. Senaratna, goes on the next day and says, we are raising VAT for the education tax to go to education, for the health tax to go to public health. So who is correct and who is not then? I mean, surely even dumb idiots like us understand you can't do both with the same VAT. The Prime Minister says VAT is being raised to cover the Rajapaksa corruption.
Yeah.
Dr. Senaratna says the VAT is being raised for the health and education. So who is lying and who is telling the truth? We need to get our act straight. And other than that, so if you are just raising VAT because you can't govern, you can't manage the country, then obviously there is a problem. We need to look at the drawing boards again.
But Mr. Vanasuri, if you go on the street now, if you go walk in Colombo now, you see that you see a little board that says your tax money at work. Do you think these are? I know I'm the board, but where is the work? Yeah, where is the work? That's exactly my question. You think the work is not happening? Absolutely not. The tax monies are being spent on further governance on not very transparent ways, Chaturanga. Because if you look at this top-heavy cabinet, what did we promise in the 19th Amendment? It was going to be 25. I remember the first draft we did at Temple Tree going to be 25 or 30. Then they said, well, because they want to bring two governments in, we want to increase it to 35 or 45. So when we argued in the Supreme Court, it increased to about 45. Now we have over 100 cabinets and deputies and state ministers, I believe. And all of these fellows enjoy perks at our expense. Yes. To govern what? For goodness sake, we are talking of this little island. And as compared to the Indian cabinet, or anyone in South Asia for that matter, we are a top-heavy cabinet. And not just that, no, we have the white elephants of 9 provincial councils. Then we have those fellows enjoying the same perks, duplicating work that they are not doing at all. And what is being used today, Chaturanga, news is who fights over whose security, who's fighting over where someone else has not gone on some stage for a May Day rally. Is this news for people?
So basically they are giving carrots. I'm telling the people that they are giving carrots for us to bite on for a little while. Then they will bring another topic. Now very soon Geneva will come. We'll start biting on that chewing gum. You see, whilst they go on with their merry governing, they'll go for another 5 years and say, oh well, we are sorry, we couldn't do all this because we had a very short time. Now give us another tenure. I for one, I'm telling those people who I spoke to 2 years ago to change government, I for one am not going to ask you to do that if they don't change very soon and start governing us the way that we wanted them to.
Mr. Vanasuri, a very interesting point. You spoke about the May Day as well. Now, President Maithripala Sirisena said that stern action will be taken in terms of politics in the country after the May Day. Have we seen any stern action so far?
Nothing so far. Nothing so far. And also, I know that I'm due to meet both His Excellency, not meet, well at least see both the Excellency and the Honourable Prime Minister later on today at the festivities planned for National Heroes Day.
Yes.
But I don't think I'll have time to tell him that. I don't think I'll even meet him. So possibly not. But what I'm trying to say is even His Excellency must remember that he is not on a political run or a championship to gain popularity in his party. What is costing him in terms of governing the country is he's trying to appease so many people in his party to gain party popularity, but at the expense of a country that we have given him to govern. He must look at the country's interests first, and then if he is not popular in the party, well, so be it, because he only came for one term. He said, I don't want to be president anymore. No.
Yes.
So now enjoy this term, Mr. President, and govern us the way we want you to govern us, and then we will still remain with you even if you want to amend the constitution and come as Prime Minister again. But what you are doing for party popularity is you're risking governing the country that we have asked you to govern.
With that, Mr. Vanasuri, we have come to the last minute of our show. I should thank our viewers for staying with Newsline, staying here with News First. Usually, as I told you several times before, Mr. Faraz Shaukat Ali is the person doing this show. He's doing a great job, I believe.
And we wish him well. We wish Faraz well, and we hope you'll come back to us soon, Faraz, after your tooth is sorted.
Thank you, Mr. Vanasuri, for joining us this morning. As I said in the very outset, you are not a stranger on the show, and we hope to hear your views and get you on the show again, even in the future. Thank you very much for joining us. With that, thank you for watching as well. You can watch the repeat of Newsline this morning right after the lunch prime time bulletin on TV1 here on News First. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Tathran. Thank you.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.